Greetings, rare and wandering friends. Cronbits, the developer of Mighty Retro Zero, requested that I do a long-form review of his work. It's currently in alpha state, so hopefully the issues I bring up will be addressed before it actually gets a complete release. The alpha is currently public and available via Newgrounds. Alright, first off, well, I'll go from easiest to hardest, I suppose. The first thing is, the music's about a 3-second little clip on loop, and it gets really annoying after a few seconds. I mean, it sets the mood well, but it's too short. You really need to add to it, have more to it before you get to the final state. I assume it's just a placeholder anyway, since it's an alpha state. The palette's cool. I actually do like the palette. It's very unique. I don't think anyone's really done the 8-bit with that intensive coloring. I mean, even the period consoles couldn't have managed that type of coloring. It's unique and it gives a different feeling than anything else. But there is a slight issue with the palette, though. It's because you use the same colors for the foreground and the background, sometimes it's difficult to tell. This creates a particular problem with whatever those little, they kind of look like this green exploding stalactites. They kind of blend into the grass above them. You don't notice them until they're exploding. And they don't have any warning. They just explode immediately and it's insta-death. It wouldn't be that bad if you actually had hit points. But without hit points, you just kind of stumble on the thing and die. And that's it. Game over. Well, not game over, but you respawn and sometimes rather far away. And it's rather annoying when there's one of those after a rather longer thing and you don't notice it. Alright, next the relatively easy enemies, including the slimes. Slimes look really amusing, by the way, but I will say there doesn't feel like there's much point to them. I mean, technically, if you run into the really easy enemies that run back and forth and the slimes that move slowly, you will die. But it takes one hit, and they move really slowly. There's almost no challenge to them. It's just kind of like, why do they even bother existing? Then we get to the other enemies. Little eyeball. The eyeball is kind of an interesting challenge by itself, but when you start combining with other things, it gets really annoying. The way it tends to move, it likes, especially if it comes from below, it likes to stop right below where you could actually shoot it. So you can't shoot it without having to jump over it in order to go into floating higher, turn around and shoot it, which does work when it's by itself, but when it's in the middle of another challenge, it's just kind of like, how am I supposed to deal with this thing that follows me and stops right in front of my face? The biggest issue enemy, though, as far as the enemy designs go, is the flamethrowers. The flamethrowers, I'm not sure if it's too frequent or they're too large or something. You'll see in my gameplay video, they're almost impossible to pass. I mean, even one by itself, because of the way they work and the character works, takes really precise timing just to get by that one. I mean, you could also fix this just by having the character move immediately instead of having this sort of slow build up to full speed. You have to be moving at full speed to get past one, which means you have to start accelerating when it's about to turn off, so that you're up to full speed by the time you reach it. Which that in itself might be a problem. I mean, the original movement speed before you speed up is really slow, and it takes a good while for you to accelerate, which kind of gets this frustrating feeling like the player isn't completely in control. It feels like, oh, I was trying to do this thing, and if I was at full speed, it would have been fine. Why do I go so slow to begin with? That, and I'll also say there are several of the controls that just don't really. The box sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. The wall jump sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. It seems like they're glitchy on and off. I assume that has to do with it being an alpha, but sometimes those just make it completely unplayable. I mean, I wouldn't make a game public if they had that type of stuff. I do like the feel and I do like the color, and I do think this might build into something more interesting, but right now it's really, really frustrating. And it's not the good frustrating either. I mean, a game like Super Meat Boy is the most famous example now. I mean, that type of thing could be really fun while being frustrating. And a lot of how they manage to do that is short session length. What I mean is, when you die, you respawn almost immediately. You don't really feel like you're being punished for dying, and you move really fast and get through a long section of level every time, regardless of if you die. In this, due to the slow movement speed and the difficulty of some of the challenges, it's more like respawn in the same spot and don't get anywhere for 10-15 minutes. I sincerely hope this helps. I'm not trying to be harsh in any way. I'm just trying to help your game get better. And to everyone else watching, feel free to look at the game and add your own commentary to the developer. I'm certain that he or she needs it. Anyways, the link to my long play of this game is below. Like or subscribe. Thanks, guys.